one cheap, really bad kit, and some probably very unhappy craft brewers. What could possibly go wrong? Hello homebrewers and welcome! So, we're going to be trying to create a hazy hop IPA. But we're not going to be using all of the fancy kit and all of the malts and the grains. That is too much work. If someone wants to give it a go, let's do it as simply as possible. So, that's what we're going to do. So, IPA stands for Indian Pale Ale. Now, it is actually British. British made originally. It is actually a variation on Pale Ale, which is a mostly tasteless drink, which is, it's alright. But when funny enough, the occupation, I should call it, of India was going forward, the troops needed something to drink, so they made a hoppy IPA, which is basically a pale ale with extra hops and a bit of extra strength, because you need to keep those troops docile and doing what you want. So, get them drunk. That works. So, that being said, that's the history part. Let's get into this. So, for my version of my IPA, I'm actually going to be cheating and using a Geordie's lager kit, because on its own, when you make a 5-gallon batch, it has got a nice light colour. Also, when you put this in the fridge, it turns hazy, so half of my job is already done. It is just light and refreshing. It doesn't really have too many flavours. Perfect for making an IPA, in my opinion. Now, because I don't want to add any extra malty flavours to it, because it is supposed to be a pale ale, I'm going to be using sugar as my secondary sugar source for my fermentation. Now I have 2 kilos. That's going to bump up the percentage, make it a bit more like an IPA. And of course, the most important bit of an IPA are the hops. Now the hops I'm going to be using, you've seen these before, these are striselspelt hopped tea bags, which I'm going to take out of the tea bag, because, I can. Very nice. They actually have quite a nice aroma, even though they're primarily a bittering hop, but I quite like it, so I'm going to use it. Of course, I'm going to be dry hopping with citra, because I really love this stuff. And for my actual bittering and a little bit of dry hopping, I've got some cluster hops. Made in the USA, of course. So I'm going to use this for the bittering, and the rest is dry hopped. So hopefully it will have quite a nice aroma, not too much flavour and taste. It should be good. It should be good. So, step 1 in this process is to go and get your 5 litre. The first step is to go and get your 5-gallon container, like this one here. And we're going to sterilise this. I've already got a bleach and washing up liquid solution in, and my washing sponge to make it all clean. While this is sterilising, we're going to prepare the hops. Oh yeah! So to save time, so you didn't have to watch me measure everything out, I've went ahead and done it. So, my cluster, the lovely cluster American hops, what I've got is a total of 30 grams of that to start off with. 13 grams of that I'm going to boil for the bittering agent, because, well, you got to have some bitter in it, unfortunately. So, the remaining 17 grams of cluster go in here for dry hopping. I also have a cheeky 28 grams of citra hops, which are again going to be there for dry hopping. And of course I got my striselspelt finishing hops, which again is going to be for dry hopping. I'm not going to actually boil these. This is just going to give aroma and flavour as it's brewing. Now, 1 week in, I will be adding an additional 20 grams of citra, just so you know, because I'll be adding that into the part 2. Towards the end, so halfway through, I'm going to add it in to give it that extra blast of citra hops, because, well, they're my favourite hops. I haven't found a better flavoured one, and this smells really good. I mean, it actually smells sort of fruity. It smells fruity, and I like fruity, so that's what we're going for. So I'm going to go set up my pan. I'm going to get this on the boil. So at this point, it doesn't really matter too much how much water you put in, because we're making a 25 litre batch. So here are my 13 grams of cluster hops. In they go. Adding in some water. It's been boiled just to make everything easier and quicker. Now I'm going to boil this for about 10 minutes. Just let it go. So in that time, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to rinse out my fermenter in the shower. So be right back. So it only took a few minutes to rinse out my fermenter. It's now lovely and sterilized and sealed. Tongue twister. So this still has about 5 minutes left. Kind of has a berry smell, a little bit of grass. Well, whatever. So I'm going to prepare my lager kit. So I've already taken out the instructions and thrown them away. We don't need them. I will be using the yeast since this is ale yeast and we're creating an ale. And I've got my lager kit, which I'm going to put in hot water to loosen up the malt. And the label will come off once it's been soaked in hot water. Why did they do that? I mean, it's really difficult to take the label off. So I'm going to go do that and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. See you then. So our 10 minutes are up. Now, I'm not doing a really long boil. I don't want it too bitter. I'm not a great fan of IPAs generally, so I'm trying to make my own. So, while we've got this lovely hot, and it is sterile because heat, I have got a scorch spoon, which I've also been re-scorching using the hops. So I'm going to be adding some oak into it, because I fancy adding some oak into it. I'm thinking that old school, when they made IPA, it was shipped in oak barrels, so 5 grams approximately of French oak, untoasted. In theory, the untoasted should give some vanilla notes. We don't know. There's only one way to find out. And plus, adding it into the boiling solution also sterilizes it so there's nothing in there, well, that could possibly be harmful, because it is boiling. And I'm going to add my sugar, my 2 kilos of sugar, which is pretty high relatively for any type of beer kit. But if there is a very slight kind of cidery taste, which you can get sometimes from sugar, these hops should mask it and you won't be able to tell. In fact, it may even improve the flavor. So off goes my heat. So it's got a kind of oak smell, funny that, kind of a woody oak. And they kind of smelled like berries for a while, and then fresh cut grass, and now it's just indistinct. So I probably boiled the hell out of it. So in goes my cheeky 2 kilos. Might as well make it easy to dissolve everything in. In it goes. And now stir. Something tells me I'm not going to be able to fit the whole of the 2nd kilo in there. But that's cool, because we can switch over to our fermenter. So I'm just going to do that. See you in a sec. So I've just moved everything out of the way, since I'm pretty sure the other kilo of sugar is not going to fit in here. So in goes my other kilo of sugar. Then I can pour in my lovely sugar hop oak tea. Because, you know, who doesn't like sugar hop oak tea? In it goes, lovely and green. May need a little bit more hot water, so I'm just going to go boil the kettle and add it in and give it a stir. So I finished adding in some extra hot water and mixing everything together. It looks green, as you would expect. So here are my striselspelt hops. Now, when you put them in a tea bag or in a thingamajiggy, you're supposed to add an extra 10% to make up for the fact that it's in one of these bags. So out it comes, because I want as much hop flavor as possible. Kind of smells like sweet berry candy, which is probably where the berry flavors are coming from. Yeah, this has got a berry, lemon berry. In it goes. And this is the other berry, kind of spicy berry. In it goes. Looking pretty good. So I'm just going to open up my can. What open can! Looking lovely. So this has already got a bit of bittering in here, because it already has some hops of its own to make a refreshing lager. So it's probably Centennial or something like that. So now let's just add our syrup. which was lovingly warmed, so it actually comes out really easily. Something tells me I've either made a puker or a great success. Who knows? So I use my lovely sterilized wooden spoon. Some people won't use wood for fermenting, but as long as you scorch it and keep it clean anyway, there's nothing wrong with it. So out comes my lovely malt. So I'm just going to rinse this out with some, fine enough, hot water, and then we're going to mix this all together. Stay spoon. Of course I get to wear it, so out comes every drop of malt. Oh, looking good. So now, let's give this a stir and mix in our lovely malt extract. Right, since my kettle has already been boiled, it has been scorched or sterilized, so I'm going to be using that to top this up to the 20-litre mark for now. Something tells me this is going to be quite foamy. I can always top it up a few days in. So I finished topping this up with fresh cold water to the 20-litre mark. Now, the reason that I've done this is because there are a lot of hops in here, so if I top it up to the 23 litre, I think it could foam and just generally make a mess. This way, in theory, I should have plenty of headroom, because I'm going to be adding more hops in a week's time, so I can top it up to the 23 litre mark after it's had its first sort of primary boom. So, first thing I need to do is give it a stir. It's the last job of this spoon before I can lick it, because, you know, I like doing that, especially with malt extract. So give it a good stir. And it's green currently. It's got a lovely green tinge to it, a bit like watery grass trimmings. Isn't that a lovely analogy? Though it smells very hoppy and a little bit malty, so in theory this should be pretty good. Has all the prerequisites of being a hoppy IPA. So now this is done, I'm going to take a hydrometer reading. So the extra kilo of sugar that you add in there, I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere around the 7.5% mark once finished. But there's only one way to find out, and that's to dunk the hydrometer in. So this should be reading something, I don't know, 8.5%, 9% maybe? Maybe. Just let it finish, and we'll see what it says. So, it is still swirling around slightly in there, but it has leveled out. And it is leveled out at 9.5%. You know, it's smidge under 10. So that brings us out at 1.060. So yeah, this should, once we've topped it up, it should be somewhere around the sort of 8-ish% mark. Not bad considering. So let's give this a taste. Does have a hop taste, kind of gritty as well. A little bit malty. And mainly sweet currently. Funny enough, the hops need time to infuse, but I am getting a little bit of a bitter twinge to it, so at least that bit worked out. So here's our ale yeast, and I'm just going to dump this in on top. The whole lot. Mwah! So just leave it open just very slightly. So for the next 7 days, I'm going to leave this alone somewhere kind of warm upstairs. Seems to be the best place to make beer. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to top it up to the 23 litre mark, maybe slightly over, depending on how I'm feeling. And I'm going to add in another 20 grams of citra hops, finishing hops, so they've got a bit more aroma in here. So I hope you join me for part 2. Found this kind of interesting, considering that we're creating sacrilege for all the craft brewers, but at the same time, if it works, who cares? So, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment, rate, like, share and subscribe, and check out some of the other ones. Catch you later, guys. carry on homebrewing.